Hi everyone, my name is Alex and I'm going to be talking about Lighting 101 in Chumash. First, we're going to talk about the wall panels and how to do a simple lighting setup with them. Secondly, we're going to use the EOS board and I'll show you how to power it on, how to get a simple wash with colors in the room, and there'll be a little more advanced info on that to come.
So we're upstairs in the crow's nest right now. Here we have one of the many wall panels in Chumash. This one lets you control pretty much everything in the space. So if you wanted to have a simple lighting setup, like tier 1 lighting for an event, you can easily use this wall panel to do that for a few specific scenarios. If you hit continue here, then you see the 3 different spaces, and if you do 205, then you can see all the lighting options for the main auditorium, and you have control for the house lights with this fader here. You have control of the soffit lights in the 2 wings. You have control over the fluorescent lights in the center, and you have probably the most interesting part, which is the presets. And in here, if you turn on the fixture power, which you'll need to have on for anything in this video involving colored lights, you hit continue, and then you have 4 different tabs here. You have the house lights, stage lights, portable stage, which doesn't get used that often, and special lighting. And if you go back to the house lights tab, there's 3 main presets that we have. There's preset 1, which is green and gold uplights and downlights. And then there's preset 2, which has blue and pink. And then preset 3 turns everything white. And that's just for the house lights. So then if you want to have some stage lights going, preset 1 is kind of a warm white on stage. There's also preset 3, which is this magenta color. And preset 6 is white lights, but just the first 2 rows of lights on stage. And that's useful if you have a screen down for projection and you don't want the white lights to go on the screen. Okay, like I mentioned, there's also the portable stage tab. And then finally, there's the special tab, which has just green and gold uplights. So if you don't want the lights going down, but you just want the uplights to be green and gold, then that's a good choice. And finally, there's my favorite one, which is the ballyhoo. And that one makes all the movers do a fun little dance in the room. So if you have an event and it just finished and you want to turn off all the lights from the wall panel here, you just press all the buttons to make sure that all the presets are off. Or even if you forget to do that, you can go to fixture power, turn them off, and then go here, continue 205, and say all off, and that will turn everything off.
So in addition to the wall panel in the crow's nest, we also have this wall panel right here. And this wall panel has a lot of the same controls as the one upstairs. If we hit continue, then we get the house lights controls for the soffits and the wings. We have the fluorescent light controls, and we can pick presets, turn on fixture power. So we can do our green and gold again. We can bring up and down the screens. We also have wall panels in various other places. There's a wall panel in the rack room over here. There's a wall panel at the back of the room. There's also wall panels for the 2 wings. When you're on the stage, you can also turn on the StageWorks lights, and this will help you see when you're setting up AV. And there's 2 panels on either side of the stage that say off, on. If you hit on, then the lights come on, and you press off to turn them off. And this should only really be used during setup because the rest of the stage lights are meant for the actual event lighting. So if we want to control the shades in the Chumash auditorium, there's two different sets of controls. Here we have the set for room 207, and if we want to control the shades in room 205, there's another set of controls over there. This set can control both sides or just this wing, and the other side has the same setup where just that wing or both wings. Each of these controls has control over the solar shades and the blackout shades. So if we bring down the solar shades, then the solar shades come down. If we press this button, we get the blackout shades. And if we want to bring either of them up, we press the top button. And then in between, there's three different intermediate buttons that we can use to make the shades go part way up, part way down, whatever works best for the event. So here we are in the rack room at stage left, and this is the room that houses the lighting power, the sound or audio rack here, the paradigm system, and another one of the wall panels. Now we're going to talk about cues. So cues are useful when you have an event that needs more than one look during the event. So that would be anything tier 2 and above for lighting. The useful thing about cues is that you can switch between multiple looks during a single event and have different lights that are on versus off and all sorts of things that you can do during a show or event. So right now we have the green and gold from earlier, and say we want to record this as a cue. Well, the easiest way is to have everything on in the room the way you like it. So right now we have the green and gold with some white stage lights, and if we want to record that, we can press record and then cue, and now we have to pick a number, and the obvious choice would be to say Q1. So now we have record Q1, and if we press enter, then we have our cue and it is recorded. And if we go over here to the left monitor, there's this second tab here, and that will show the cue list. And here we have Q1 with some timing parameters and other things. And we can also label the cue. If we, with this cue selected, if we press label, then we can type in with the keyboard either on screen or in person here, or in the real world. You can type a label. So I'll just say first cue, enter, and now you'll see on the screen it says first cue as the label. Now we have one cue, but this is still basically tier 1 lighting. It's a single look. Nothing's changing during this theoretical event. But say the client wants the stage lights to turn off for part of the event, so we can bring down the stage lights. So now this is the look for a different part of the event. So this is another cue. So if we say record cue 2, and then we can actually go ahead and label it, and I'll say second cue, and press enter, and there's our second cue. So just for fun, let's record a third cue. So maybe they want the uplights to be a different color. Let's do red and blue, for example. And I'll change the house lights as well. So this is the new look. If they want that for part of the event, we can record that as a cue. So record cue, and if we're going in order, we can say Q3. I'll label it, and then following my naming scheme, I'll say third cue. So now we have first cue, second cue, and third cue. Generally, you'd want a more descriptive label or something that makes a little more sense, but just for this example, those are the labels I'm giving them. Now we can go forwards and backwards, switching between these cues with these two buttons here. There's like a square or backwards button, and this is like a forwards triangle button. So if we press the square button, then we go backwards in the queue list. So now we're on Q2, and if I press it again, we're in Q1. If I press it one more time, then we go all the way backwards to technically Q0, which is nothing on the lights at all, everything off. And now you can see that we're not in a specific queue here. Right now we have Q1 selected, but there's nothing on. And if I press the triangle button, then we will fade into Q1, and you can see it turns red and there's a countdown as it fades. If we press it again, we start fading into Q2. You can see that by default, all these queues have a fade time of 5 seconds. And if I press that button one more time, we fade into Q3. Say you want these queues to not fade, but rather jump, or at least have a shorter fade time. So these times on the screen here have to do with different parameters and how fast each of them fades. If a certain parameter isn't in the queue, like if nothing changed between two queues for a specific parameter. So in this case, between Q1 and 2, no colors changed, so there's no fade time for color. All you would need to do in general is change the fade times that are applicable to whatever number you want. So in this case, I'll change Q3, which just has a color change. You click on that parameter, and then at the bottom here it says Q3 color, and I can say 0, for example, and now we have a fade time of 0. So if I go backwards, we're in Q2, and I go forwards, and it instantly jumps to Q3. So that's nice. We have 3 queues for our theoretical event, but what if we want to go into the queues out of order? So that's where this other button, Go to Queue, comes into play. So far we've just been saying record queue, but there's also Go to Queue over here. And what Go to Queue does is it lets you jump to any queue regardless of the order you have set up. So right now we're in Q3. If I say Go to Q1, enter, then it'll fade over to Q1, completely skipping over Q2. So the main difference here is that Q talks about addressing a specific queue and like selecting it, versus Go to Queue tells the board to change the look to that queue. So it's a few different use cases, but in general what you would do is say record queue for recording queues, and you can also delete queues, and then you would say Go to Queue to jump to whatever queue you want to jump to. So like I said a second ago, if you want to delete a queue, the easiest way is to say delete, and then queue, and then whatever number of the queue you want to delete. So in this case I'll delete Q3, press enter, it'll say on the screen here, please confirm, and if I say enter again, then now Q3 is gone. So if you want to get rid of all your queues, you could also do a range of queues. So I'll do delete queue 1 through 2, so through is up here, 1 through 2, and press enter, confirm, and now we have no queues. Our show is gone, and now we're back to where we started basically. So another interesting point is if you're in the middle of a show and you want to edit a queue without having it display in the room, you can do that with blind mode. So say we have this queue where the stage lights are on. If I record that really quick, record Q1, enter, then we have this queue, but say that we are in the middle of something during a show and we want to change this queue without having the lights change during the client's event. So it's a very specific use case, but if you hit blind over here, then that switches us into this blind mode where everything is kind of blue or gray on the screens, and this means that you can go ahead and bring down some lights in this queue. Something like that, for example. And then if you go back to live by clicking the live button, that's the normal use case here, and you'll see that while we changed the queue, nothing happened to these lights in the live look that we're seeing. So now if I say go to queue 1, then it'll update to have those changes that we made in blind mode. So another interesting use case. Let's see, what else is there?